4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Oh, Lord. Okay. Hello, ladies, and welcome to the very first, as you can tell, inaugural Bodacity Business Experts Panel. What we are not experts at, myself for sure, is managing BeLive and this talk show format, because apparently you can only have 3 other people plus the host. You can't have more than that. And we had 6, count them, 6 guests for you. No, 5, count them, 5 guests for you. So we're going to start all over again because we were all rocking and rolling, and then I realized that we didn't have the broadcast started. So, ladies, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient with this ludicrous process for those of you in the US. And what I'm going to do is just have you introduce yourself very quickly. Rather than me going through and reading all of the descriptions and so forth and so on, please introduce yourself. Give me your name, where you are, okay, in the world, what you are a super amazing expert at, and who you do that for. Okay, so your name, where you are in the world, what you're awesome at, and who you do that for. Please, who's going to be the brave soul and go first?
I'll go first.
All right, atta girl, Regina.
So I am Regina Bergman. I am located in Perryton, Texas, which is up in the panhandle of Texas, just about as far north as you can go and still be in Texas. I work with entrepreneurs. I am a serial entrepreneur myself, and so can totally relate to them. I'm a business coach, marketing strategist, breakthrough specialist, helping folks break past those ceilings that are holding them down in their business. I particularly enjoy working with people who have a passion to make a difference in the world, people who have a mission to help others. And it's always been my goal to help people achieve their full potential. And so I work at doing that through business coaching.
Awesome. Okay. And she's also an author, a speaker, and all-around whiz at being very flexible, but also working with chambers of commerce and other coaches to really help them grow their practice as well. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Regina. Who's next? Veronica, Leanne? Who wants to go next? All right, awesome.
Hi,
go.
I'm Leanne Wakeling, and I'm in Canberra, Australia. It's really warm where we are right now. We're having one of the biggest heat waves that we've ever had. We had a record last week of 4 days over 40, so over about 110, and yeah, so I'm sweltering away because we don't have air conditioning in our house. Because most of the time we don't need it. But our winters are cold. So the purpose of my life is to help people create the life that they want, knowing they are enough, enable fulfilling relationships, empowered by love with conscious and intentional communication. And I'm trained as a life coach, and I'm a military family veteran. And so I use my skills to work with people to support them have more appreciation of the diversity of their skills that enable them to be able to collect together the career that they want, instead of trying to fit the pattern of what we've always been taught, and discover that you can actually make a career out of what you really want to do. And that's what I'm doing at the moment, is working with people. I'm a mentor in a number of programs. I'm also mentor parents of E2 children, because I was one, and I have one of 4 of mine are also E2, for those who are familiar with that term. And so I take my diversity of skills, because I find that even though I'm helping women with their career change, a lot of the time it's about life satisfaction and parenting, and all of the voices in our head that tell us that what we should be doing, what we are not doing well, how, the voice that is not our friend. And I help them to overcome that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And 40 is just too hot. Too hot. I love hot, but that's too hot. So, but welcome. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, air conditioning would be a good thing. Okay, so Veronica. Oh, wait. I might have you muted because it was noisy before. Hang on, let me see. Yes, I do. There. You're unmuted.
My name's Veronica Palin, and I'm in Calgary, Alberta. I have two businesses. One is a cold calling business. The other is as a residential realtor. And in the cold calling business, I employ 3 people. They all work from home. I think the main value I have is freedom for myself, people who work for me, and clients. So there's a lot of flexibility. And I think that's why there's loyalty that happens in that process. I'm in the middle of, in the beginning stages of growth to 4 employees and then 6. So it's an interesting process to increase staff and look at comp plans and that kind of thing. So that's what's new for me. And I've been doing that for 25 years. And about 12 years ago, I became a realtor because that's how I've made money myself, is from investing in real estate. So my motivation for doing that was to share with particularly women mindset shifting and having support to make that decision so they're not alone in it. So that's my main market for real estate.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And we actually are live because someone just liked our live broadcast, so it's actually working. Yay!
Way to go, Jeanette.
That only took 15 minutes to sort out. Okay, so ladies, what I wanted to do is just have a kind of a roundtable discussion around what's actually working and not working in business for women entrepreneurs, and of course it's going to apply to men as well, but a lot of the audience in Bodacity's Action Heroes happen to be women, and this will also be on YouTube. So what's working, what's not working, but also just some of the lessons. What have you learned? What would you tell your younger you as you were starting out on your entrepreneurial journey? Just some sharing of experiences and wisdom and stories around what has worked in some specific areas. So let's start with, let me just ask, Leanne, how long have you been in business in total?
Oh, about 3.5 years. Oh. I was thinking 3.5 years. I've been a life coach for 3.5 years as an active business, but I didn't even think of business as a possibility until about 4.5 years ago. And I was studying interior design, and as part of our graduation requirement, we had to get business cards. Didn't even dawn on me that business wasn't an option, because I'm nearly 60 and I came from that tradition that said, have a career, have a job. So the idea of entrepreneurship had never, it wasn't even a microbe in my mind.
Right.
But it's been wonderful going through that process, learning that I still had elements of teenage rebellion within me, that I've resisted a number of things like structure and accountability, that funnily enough, when you actually build a structure and a plan and you stay accountable to it, things happen.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
yes.
it is amazing. Someone I know and love, Jay, has often said, which I think is amusing, that there is freedom in structure. And for a long time, I really resisted that. But there's freedom in structure. But I also think it's amusing because he's not that structured. Anyway, so, but I do think there's some real reality to that. Okay, Regina, how long have you been in business?
I've been in this business 4 years. We started January of 2015. I have been self-employed for many years, as you mentioned in the bio that we didn't do this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a staffing firm, a regional staffing firm. I had 6 offices. We were in 2 states. had multiple divisions of services that we provided. We were at a little over $4 million in revenue when the 2008-2009 crash occurred. So, but Leanne had mentioned earlier about marketing, and I think that's one of the big things is understanding marketing today for any business, male or female owned business, is understanding marketing and how to use marketing effectively. And that was something I didn't know in my last business. Maybe one of the reasons it failed with the crash, right? Because I, didn't know about that. Yeah.
All right. Well, and on that note, that's a great segue. So I'm going to ask you, what are some of the things that you've learned along the way that you would change or do differently? So in terms of, and Veronica, I'll unmute you. There's just a hum in the background on yours, so I'll mute and unmute you. The first question is, what would you tell someone who's starting out or who's new in business that they absolutely must learn or master first if they want to be successful in growing a business?
Two things I would tell them. One is they need to have a market dominating position. They need to understand how they separate themselves from their competition in a way that appeals to their ideal client. And the second thing is they need to figure out who their ideal client is. So many small business owners don't do those two things. They don't know. They just assume that everybody's their client because everybody could use their product. But people want to buy from an expert in their field. They want to buy from somebody. If you want to go to a doctor, you want to know that that doctor is a good doctor, right? You want that expert. You don't want to just get somebody that is not an expert in what they do. And the same is true of any of our services or products. People want to do business with that expert. So you need to really hone who your ideal client is and then create that positioning statement, sometimes called a USP or market dominating position, that allows you to stand out from your competition. So many times when we ask people that question, what's their market dominating position, we'll get answers such as, oh, well, we offer the friendliest service in town. We're family owned. We've been here 25 years. Guess what? Your clients don't care about that. They don't care at all about that. And so, helping them understand how they separate themselves, how they create that uniqueness that attracts others to them. And that uniqueness often has to do with your own level of passion for something, because if you're passionate about it, you will attract people with a like passion to be your clients. They'll want to work with you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, Veronica, how about you? What do you think you would say?
Well, it's always, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, it's always good to consider yourself in the buyer's position, the customer's position. And, my two questions are, why me, why now? So do a good look in the mirror and go, why should they pick you? What qualities of you or your business make you different? Like you said, unique selling proposition. And why should they act quickly or now or at all versus what they already have? So most customers, just like ourselves, we don't know what we don't know. So the first part is usually some form of educating, but the bottom line is, why should they put any form of money or time into something? What's in it for them?
Right.
And so a lot of my work is putting that into language or questions that are simple or easy to digest, so they go from not knowing a person to considering whether they want to. So, what I think, once that's done, if the research done and you get a pass, you're a business that's useful to a certain market segment. I would say persevere and make sure you're found when they're looking. So.
Okay. Yep. Persevere for sure is a big component of it. All right. Thank you. And just, if you want to say something, Veronica, just raise a finger and then I'll unmute you. Okay. Because I can't see you. Thanks, hon. All right, Leanne, what's your answer for that question?
Because I go with the big picture side, it's always understanding why. Because most of us, when we transition into business, we're really good at doing the do. We've said, yeah, this is what we want to do. I can deliver this. That can only sustain you for a short period of time, because if you're really good at what you do, you'll start to get overwhelmed by balancing out all of the pieces. Or if you're not being successful, it's easy to give up. So if you understand why you're doing what you're doing, the rest of it actually builds out. And it is then understanding your avatar, getting clear on your market. But it starts with your own understanding of purpose, of why you are doing business in the first place, and what is the purpose of your business. So how is it serving both you and who your ideal audience is? And then you can connect that message together. So
Okay.
that would be my starting point.
All right. Awesome.
Very good.
So I totally agree with all of that, and I'm also going to play a bit of devil's advocate. So, by the way, I realized I didn't introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jeanette Anderson, and because I just assume everybody knows me in the world, right? I'm Jeanette Anderson. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and I am the founder of the League of Extraordinary Women and Bodacity.ca. Both of whom are committed to supporting women and grabbing life by the ovaries. That's Bodacity, and supporting leaders in redefining what success means for themselves and for our planet. So that's the League of Extraordinary Women. My kind of passion and purpose for being here is to really support women entrepreneurs in turning what they do and what they love and who they are and their expression into profit. Now, why just women? I just want to address this really quickly because we have lovely men on the planet like Steve Kozart, who's watching currently, and others. And I really just want to say the reason for that, because I've resisted it for a long time. I actually actively resisted this calling for 8 years, quite successfully, I might add. And I finally succumbed recently because I finally really truly understood that there's a lot of unhappy, angry, tired, overwhelmed, worn out women in the world. And that really doesn't serve us or anyone else. And there's a lot of women, there is still a long ways to go in terms of women actually having the impact and the equality that we need on the planet. We still live on a planet where white women make 72 cents on the dollar for every dollar that men make. And it goes down based on race to Asian, Black, Native Americans, to Latina women who make 52 cents on the dollar for every dollar that men make. So we still have a ways to go in terms of what we're doing and what we're creating. And the bottom line is, if mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So when women are not home, then we can't be there for the men and for the children and for the planet in the way that we need to be if we're actually going to lead things in a different direction. So that's who I am. That's my passion. My background has been in business for 35 years, business startup and turnaround, specializing in service professionals. My other half of my background is facilitation, personal development work, and coaching and teaching coaches how to be coaches. So I like to say I get these 4 inches working so that your business can work. So my answer to that question is, and I like to kind of kick a little butt. So the butts that I hear the most from my clients are, but I don't want to be a slimy salesperson, but I really don't want to push people, but I don't really want to ask for money, but I really don't want to, bother them. In other words, people, and especially most women, suck at self-promotion. So yes, marketing, but that's a nice little soft intro to sales. Most women don't want to sell themselves and their services. So what I would tell myself, and any other women who are starting out is get over yourself, figure out that sales just means service. Show up and be willing to actually be in service, which means giving people the opportunity to take advantage of who you are, what you have to offer, and your gifts, so that they're better, you're better, and you can actually support each other in this relationship, which is what sales really is. And so I would tell people, if they actually want to stay in business, that stat about in someone's bio, about 95% of businesses fail. They fail because they don't get clients. And so I I agree with all of you. Marketing's a big part of that. Positioning's a big part of that. Answering the whys, like Veronica said, is a big part of that. Why should I pick you? Why do I need what you have? I think that's all a big part of it. But we can answer those questions till the cows come home. And if I'm not willing to say, and so will you buy this, and actually charge them, then I will be out of business and I'll be part of the 95%. So I would say get going on your sales. Is that an amen, or you want to add to that, Veronica?
Amen.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things I haven't heard any of us say yet is the point that the business has to be profitable. So having a very good financial plan, very good accounting, very good understanding of, am I making a profit when I sell this item? Not only in money, but in cost. So it has to be a cost-effective, long-term, being able to support that. The other thing I wanted to mention was resourcefulness, really knowing when to farm something out, when to finding someone else who is talented, more talented than I am in that area. Most of my business is built on making a margin off of someone else's skills, whether it's the calling or the admin. So even the bit that I do primarily, which is strategy and scripting, some of that can still be, I say farmed out, but even recently, India has a really great resource both for systems and also for data entry. So some of that I still make a margin off of, but my client gets a lower price point now for that admin. So I think being resourceful to solve the problem and always making a profit.
Yeah.
So I think it's critical to keep that in mind. It doesn't matter how you like, if you like it, if you're good at it, if they want it, you better make some money along the way.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, and I think this is a part that a lot of us as entrepreneurs don't do, is think like a business person. Entrepreneurs tend to be unemployable employees, but that doesn't necessarily make you a business person. Business people think about things like having a budget, knowing what your cost is to deliver your services. And because many of us, and in particular, are service providers, we think that our costs are just my time. But no. So are you
infrastructure?
Yeah, are you profitable is a really, really significant thing. And do you know how to track money? Do you know how to take care of money? Do you know how to be a good steward of money? It's one of the things that has been the bane of my existence in my entrepreneurial journey is I hate bookkeeping. I love invoicing. I do love doing that. And I love banking the checks. But all the stuff in between those two, not so much. And so, it's really been significant for me to find people who can manage me. So I now have a bookkeeper. I don't know if I can find it and show it to you, but she recently, I have some outstanding stuff I have to get to her. She recently sent me a text with the Jaws theme on it because and she said that the sound effects are only going to get scarier from here if I don't hurry up and send her what it is I'm supposed to send her. That's the kind of bookkeeper I need. Now, so on that note, what do you wish you had done earlier to start leveraging yourself? So to move out of one-to-one to one-to-many. Because one of the challenges of a one-to-one model is that it's not really typically sustainable as a business. It's a self-employment practice, which is fine. What do you wish you had done earlier in terms of leverage? So is that, that could be technology, it could be hiring people, it could be whatever. So what is it for you, Leanne? What do you wish you had done earlier to start scaling yourself?
My screen is black for Leanne. I cannot see her picture.
Nope, she's there. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
And I can see you.
Okay.
Well, I'm just in that process, but it's like you said, it goes back to one of the things that I was taught really early on is that my mentor that I started this journey with, she said as soon as she could afford 40% of a VA salary, she brought them on, realizing that she could earn more money. So what it cost her to have the VA was less than she earned. So it was filling the gap, which allowed her to then do the growth. And that's what it is learning that actually stop focusing on how much you're earning, like how much is coming into you personally, and figure out how much you could be earning if you were also then supporting your organization. And that's often where the gap is that we get so focused on how many dollars an hour we're bringing in without recognizing we could bring in more dollars a week if we actually outsourced a bunch of those tasks that essentially, when you look at it, your VA that you're paying $40 an hour and you're getting paid $150 an hour as a floating figure. Well, then if you're doing the work that she could be doing, it's costing you $150 an hour to do a $40 an hour task. And is that really sensible from a business sustainability perspective? And that was a big shift for me in saying, and funnily enough, I got it when I taught it to somebody else. And I'm saying to them, you're spending all of this time when you get paid $250 an hour and you're doing this bookkeeping that you could pay somebody else way less than that. And it's taking you all of this time. And then that was an aha for them, but it was also an aha for me. Hello, you know this stuff, do it.
All right, awesome. Regina, how about you?
Yeah, and just an FYI, Jeanette, I can't see or hear Leanna.
Yeah.
Leanne. Yeah. Can't see or hear.
She's still good. I think it's only on your end. She's still
on my end.
Yeah.
She just went dark.
Okay. So what would you say is the leveraging thing that you would recommend people to do as they start to scale? What's the first thing that you would have them bring on or do, Regina?
I think one of the things is that the thing for me that I probably have not done as good a job of as I know to do is working my own database, you know, having a good drip campaign in place with people who are in my database, because that is a great way to begin scaling or to begin to increase that interaction with your audience and their relationship and purchasing from you. And then also having an effective webinar in place with a product that allows you to do one-to-many as opposed to the one-to-one opportunity. So yeah, those are the things I think I have not worked quickly enough in my own business.
Okay.
Adequately enough.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to switch over to Veronica. And Veronica, same question, but I also, because you have added employees as part of your leveraging strategy for your cold calling agency, how did you make that transition from doing it yourself to actually taking on that first employee? What shifted?
Well, I mean, billable hours was the big key. How many can I bill in a week? 40 hours, 50 hours, 30? So to be able to bill out 200 hours a week or 250, I really looked at it from a math perspective, stats, return, and just went, oh, that's a better use of my time. So, I mean, I didn't come up with this on my own. I have a degree in French and business. After having my son, I did some temp work at an agency, and I was good at telemarketing. So I invested in something I was good at and liked. To be quite honest, it probably didn't matter what it was. It was that I was going to build off those two things because I had to do it for a long time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, nowadays I hire coaches to educate me, to fill in the gaps I don't have. But in between there, I was reading books of the 4-hour work week, how to make me replaceable so I'm out, and then just keep doing that. So I want to talk about technology for a moment. I used to have 4 people working in my home from 9 to 12 every day. We used to only market to the Calgary area. They were all women who had kids. So I really enjoyed that format. Well, again, this is 25 years of doing this. I didn't like that they were working in my home, but that was all I could do at the time. So now everything's, workable at home. I think the only thing I would do different on either leveraging or any of that would be having a business partner or having someone else who is another business person who I could talk to along the way, not necessarily a coach, but I found business very isolating, and, sharing challenges was difficult, with someone else who was also a business person. It didn't matter if they were man or woman, but that, I didn't have another partner in my life who was financial. When I did, I was probably the greater breadwinner. So being so alone in that, it would have been nice to have more friends, to say, hey, are you having problems with your employees? How do you do this payroll? And share ideas. So that's probably what I would have done different, is tried to seek that out before. Honestly, I don't know if it was as readily available as now. So we live in exciting times.
We do, absolutely. And so I get the practicality of that it just makes sense to be able to leverage your time and be able to bill out more. But there was a leap where you were taking on the responsibility for paying someone else. You had to go get more clients now because you needed clients for you and for them. That, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of solopreneurs get stuck in that leap point of going from solopreneur to business owner, right? And business owner meaning that they're making enough money to actually pay subcontractors or to hire a VA or to bring on team or whatever. And for many of them, it means selling more. That is part of it. But there's also kind of a mindset shift around that. Do you remember way back when you made that decision, besides the fact that it was practical and made sense? How did you think about it to get the courage to make that leap?
Well, that's interesting that you would say that, because it felt like I was executing something that was a concept I learned. Mm. It didn't feel like a change of mindset. It felt like an application of a mindset. And I would definitely agree that it's mindset.
Cool.
I remember also when, because a lot of my business is, when I have more clients, I need more staff. So it's, which one starts. So now I advertise on Google. That's how I get found. But before it was Yellow Pages. So clients found me, but so did people who wanted to work for me. So it was more of timing and keeping in touch. But I wanted to talk about also the mindset of earning more money. So whether it's $4,000 a month or $10,000 or $20,000 a month, and the idea of picturing that and feeling what $120,000 a year in sales is, or what 240 is, and sitting in that and going, oh, that's what that looks like. So I'll never forget my first invoice where I billed out, $4,000. And it's a piece of paper I printed, I mailed it, and I got $4,000 in the mail. And I went, that was a piece of paper. They got me $4,000. So I think that the idea of growth, whether it's doubling or by a third, I think picturing it and feeling it is really important before it happens, before it feels comfortable. And I know, Jeanette, that's one of the things you say about pricing, is it has to feel good to be able to say it and ask for it. So did I answer your question, by the way?
Yeah, you did. You did. And it's actually, what I say is a slight variation on that. It probably won't feel good to be asking for a higher price if you're raising your prices. I don't care if it feels good. I care that you can get it out of your mouth. Right. And most people can't get it out of their mouth, so then that's not the right price for them. They got to be able to say it and then shut up and not take it back. And if they can do that, then that's the price they can charge. Awesome. I love that, Veronica. And I really love the picturing it and sitting in it so that you can then start to really move towards that. I think we do have to shift our context before we can shift the what gets put into it, the content. So thank you. Go ahead.
And I just wanted to add that I do think it's a particularly female social issue that we're taught a certain thing about money or about being quiet or whatever that is, about self-promotion, but also about whether it's deserving money or how much is enough. Like, maybe 1,000 is good, okay, or 2,000 is okay, or 5, but 10, 25. There's this discomfort about just getting a lot of money. let alone that being easy. And I don't think that's only to women. I think that's to men as well. But I think that when you talk about some percentages relating to women, I think feeling and knowing that you can earn that with ease in your craft is very important to as a mindset shift.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to thank you. I'm going to if anybody has any questions, put them in the chat, and I will put it to the panel. What I do want to ask you, and I'll just start with Regina again, is what's the when it comes to selling yourself, what's the thing that you would advise other people to be able to do, or how can we get, what's the piece of advice you would give people about selling themselves?
Good question. So if you're struggling, let me just pull something down off of my wall here, off of my desk. If we're struggling to sell ourselves, there's a level of self-confidence that's not in place there. And so, you sometimes have to find artificial ways to enforce that, to generate that, to work on that mindset. So one of the issues that I had at one point was my ability to sell someone my product, my service, and considered myself to be a good teacher, but not a good salesperson. And really, I think when you're in a service business, particularly, it really doesn't come down to sales. That's what the end result is. But it really, if you're providing a good service to people that is of value, then those sales are going to be easier to come by. So I have this sheet on my desk that reminds me of why people would buy from me. So may I read that?
Yeah, real quick. We are running out of time, so read it real quick.
Okay. So I, Regina Bergman, am a difference maker. I transform the lives of the business owners I work with. I'm a business and marketing strategist. The people I choose to work with need my help. I deeply care for my prospects and clients, and therefore I come from a place of love which breaks down their overconfidence and overcomes their fears. I see objections and concerns they raise as opportunities to better understand their situation so I can help them see their need for my help. This call, meaning whatever phone call I'm getting on at that moment, is an opportunity to expose their pain, diagnose it, and give them strategies to solve it. If I feel they're a good fit for me and I can help them, I will enroll them in a business coaching program with me. I know they'll change their lives and businesses by signing up for my coaching. I am a business coach. And so that's kind of my little piece on the wall that I keep up there just to kind of remind myself, you got this.
Cool. Yep, I love it. And I really, really love, so much so that I typed it up there, help them see the need for my help. So right. I think that's sales. That's sales. That's what it is. All right. Awesome. Okay. And Leanne, how about you? What was, in a very laser, what's the short, simple thing you would tell people about how to better sell themselves?
It's recognizing sales is service, and you're not selling them anything. You're supporting them make a buying decision about whether they're the right fit with you now, remembering that most of our business happens in the follow-up and the nurture and not in the moment.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And Veronica, what would you tell them?
Well, I just wanted to say, Regina, I really liked your word will in what your words were. I thought that was very powerful. So I want to say I really like that. I will sell them this. I will. Absolutely. And my comment is really just ask for the close. Ask for the sale. Yeah. Would you like to give that a try? Would you like to do that next week? Is there anything stopping you from starting this right away? When is your schedule? Do you want to try it? All these trial close questions to feel out where they're at. So if they say maybe, you can go, oh, tell me about that then. So we can really get to qualify them.
Yeah.
What Veronica just, it is Veronica, I can't
yes,
say the name.
Go ahead.
Veronica, yep.
What Veronica just said is those questions is actually front loading them in the conversation. so that you've already got over, because if you get to the end and they don't have the money, you didn't figure out whether this was something that they could do sooner or later. And it's getting skilled at being able to address the objections before you get to the end. Right. So that you already know, whether now is the right time for you to be having this conversation, or whether they're actually recognizing now is not the right time, and I want to build a relationship with you so that when you are ready, we can work together and support them on being prepared to be working with you. So like Regina said, it's that education of when we work together, but building that to being ready to be together, and when they're ready to hand over money. It's such a cooler way of doing it, gentler and respectful to me. I don't know whether that's what it feels like for you guys when you take that kind of approach.
Yep, cool. And I I love the approach of the trial closes, and just the simplicity of actually close. Because a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, here's what I have, here's what I have, here's what I can do for you, here's what how it will help you. And then we stop before saying, would you like to buy it? So thank you for that. Veronica, is there any books you would recommend for people who want to get better at closing or sales?
Thanks for asking. I can't think of any now, but I mean, I think Google is our friend. If we were to Google what are the best trial close methods, I mean, I like the either or close. Would you like us to meet on Tuesday at 2 or next Wednesday at 3? I like the assume close. So when are we starting? Next Tuesday or the one after? You know, so, you know, there's all these styles that are very important to understand so you can read your client and know which one might work, and then try another one. And here's why I kept raising my hand, as I really wanted to say the idea of, you know, not to take business personally when you get a rejection. Honestly, I really like hearing, like, I feel thank you when I hear a no, because I'm not going to spend more time with that individual. So I'd rather have someone say no than keep me hanging on the line, right? So so rejections are a really good thing. I'm a real big fan of statistics, and when I get another no, it's like, yeah, another yes is along the way. I got the no. So I think it's although they say don't take rejection personally, I really don't think rejection is personal, even if it's from a date or anything in life. I think that it's that other person doing whatever they need to do for themselves, and you just go thank you, and you do what you need for yourself. And I think that applies to business as well. So I know there's times I don't get a client for something. I go, oh, darn. But then I go, well, maybe they're better suited with who they chose. Yeah. And I can focus on something else that aligns more with my values, etc. So
awesome. All right, ladies, we got to wrap up. So we're going to do a laser round of, thank you so much, a laser round of what advice would you give to women in business to be successful? So what's your one takeaway and piece of advice? And by the way, in case you didn't catch it, my sales comment there was ditto all of them, but especially close the damn deal. Okay, so what piece of advice would you give women in terms of, so we started out saying, what's one thing you would recommend that they really do, and what's one thing you would recommend that they don't do to be successful? Okay, so who wants to go first? Who has an answer? All right, I'm gonna
Veronica put her hand up. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Off you go. Okay.
So I would advise, especially if they're a startup or newer entrepreneur, to get honest feedback from an experienced coach or someone who can give them that feedback. I say that because it does have to be someone who understands their businesses and doesn't just think that it would work or not work. So another set of eyes that could say to them, yeah, it's a good idea. No, I don't know if that's going to work. And do that early in the process. So that's a do. And what do not do is if you aren't experiencing success in the first year, half year, in terms of getting the margins right, you don't actually have to make a lot of money. But if you don't make enough profit in the first half year or year, pick something else. Like know when to cut it off and choose something else. And just, yeah, keep learning and changing. And don't worry if you make mistakes, keep going.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Awesome. Very pragmatic. Okay. Leanne, how about you? What's one thing they should do, one thing they shouldn't do?
One thing they should do is, if they figured out their why, is to actually follow it, and don't do is listen to other people's opinions, because they aren't you. It's not now. And even if they're people that you love, all they're trying to do, and oh, you don't want to do that, is protect you. And if you appreciate that that's their position, you know, it's not ignoring them thoughtlessly, for lack of a better expression. It's appreciating they're not you on your journey. And it's okay to put the boundary in that says, thank you for loving and caring for me, and this is what I'm doing.
Great. Okay, awesome. I love that. Yeah, that a lot of times our approval can take us down paths that we shouldn't go down. So I agree with Veronica. It helps to get some advice from experts who know what they're talking about, to give you that external perspective, but choose your expert wisely. And that's very different than what Leanne was saying, which is don't let the naysayers in your life, friends, family, etc., who in the name of love and trying to protect you, tell you all sorts of crap that is really just their limiting beliefs. They're not on your journey. So awesome. All right, Regina, how about you?
Yes, and thanks for reiterating what Leanne says, because I still can't hear her.
Oh, okay.
So, kind of in that same vein as Veronica said, though, you need to get support. One of the biggest reasons for failures of small business is that they don't have a business background. So they don't know what they don't know about running a business. And they go out with an idea for a product or a service, and they start a business, and they have no idea how to create a business out of that. And they wind up being a technician in their business. So I would say get that support, get education, find resources that can help you to create a business. And then the negative is really kind of, or the don't is kind of a flip side of that, and that is, don't feel you have to be a lone wolf out there. You do need a support system. You do need others who are doing this, who have been successful in it. Like you said, you know, get the right mentors, but have mentors, have coaches, participate in groups, come to things like this to get fed. And, you know, Veronica, you mentioned having a business partner. I think that's one of the best things I've ever done, is to have a business partner when I've had a business. And I've had two wonderful partners. By the way, Jeanette, Brad says hello.
Okay.
So, you know, a business partner, the right one, is just because you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. But if you don't have that, get a good support system. Don't feel you have to be a lone wolf out there.
Yeah. And it's the partner is a buddy as opposed to a partner who is sharing in the business. They don't have to be an actual partnership. I mean, you look at the Transcend Collective that you and I are in, Jeanette, that it's about that collaboration. So you do have other minds. It's that, to me, it's part of that Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that true bouncing off each other's expertise and thinking, that business buddy idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to say, kind of stole my thunder, you two, about not being a lone wolf, because as you know, Veronica said, it can get lonely in our kitchens or in our silos by ourselves. And so create community is very important. And I would say also create what I'm going to call a more structured community. So whether that's coaching or a mastermind group or something where there is an element of accountability, because the challenge with groups like Transcend, I'm not just saying that to slam them, or any other kinds of loose groups that we're part of, I'm part of a bazillion Facebook groups, et cetera, et cetera. I'm in some forms of community, but there's zero accountability for moving things forward. So that's part of, you know, like Regina said, the having a partner is there's some real accountability there. So whatever your support structure is, make sure that there is actually enough structure to support getting shit done, being accountable, and staying focused on the things that matter. All right, before we end up, the ladies, Mary Frances, Ora, do either of you have any questions for our lovely panel? Do you have anything that you'd like to know from them? And I'll open up all the channels. Does anybody have any last words you want to say while they're typing their questions? Go ahead, Veronica.
What I wanted to say as a sort of ending point to our group is one of the things I love about women is collaboration. I think that's very, very common, and I'm going to say a little less ego-based. I find that sometimes with male entrepreneurs, they want to do it all themselves, so they have a tough time delegating. So I think that it is easier. So I guess what I'm saying is I want to celebrate how women work with the strengths they intuitively have or were socially learned to have, and one of those is collaboration. One of them is another is communication. Another is thinking outside of the box. Coming up with a lot of ideas. So I think as much as we're all women, it's nice to also then take the male ideas of being more linear or being more brief in communicating, or these other elements that we see men do more, and bring it in so that we have options of doing both. But I just wanted to celebrate the ones that seem very, like, I know a lot of men like working with us so that they have that in the mix for them. And so I do want to celebrate, like you were saying, Regina, what we have ourselves, to remember that, and why people want to do business with us for that quality as well.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that whole collaboration is a new way of, not a new way of doing business. It is a rising model, a rising way of really breaking down walls. As much as there are some people in the world who are trying to build walls, I think the rest of us are busy trying to break them down and create some collaboration, some sense of community wherever we are in whatever we're doing, and actually get kind of some things happening. Get stuff happening. All right. So if you ladies who are watching don't have any questions, I don't see anything in the chat. Leanne, do you have any last quick comments before we sign off? And Regina?
No, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for facilitating this. And it was wonderful to meet you other ladies. And I'm looking forward to building on that connection collaboration inside Bodacity as we move forward.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you. And Regina, how about for you?
Just want to say thank you for this forum, Jeanette. Thank you for putting this together. And I think it's a great idea. Hopefully our audience now and in the future to watch this later will get some great value out of it and trigger more questions for them.
Yep.
And they'll go on that journey to get those answers so that they can achieve their full potential.
Awesome. I love it. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this, these three ladies and some more that we'll have on another panel discussion now that we know that we can only have three other people, are some of the people who have very generously offered to be mentors in the community. So I really, really want to encourage you to take them up on that, for God's sakes. So one of the things Regina said was, we need to seek out mentorship. And in many ways, many of us have touched on that, on the need for people who are further down the path or who have a different perspective to shine their light down the path so we can see where we're going easier, faster, and be more successful in that. And one of the things that women are notorious for doing is wanting to give but not receive. Yeah. So it's like, I'll be the giver, I'll be the giver, I'll be the giver, which is why we have 6 mentors and no mentees. Like, what's up with that? So seriously, we need to get that sorted out. And what I would like to say is, for those of you who have not checked it out, go to the Bodacity's Action Heroes. And if you're not a member, please just ask to join. Men and women are welcome. There's a lot of estrogen in the room, but all you guys are welcome as well. And check out the mentorship button and their bios, what they're offering to help you with, their areas of expertise. You got a bit of a sense of who they are here. What I would really, really encourage you to do is take them up on that. Mentorship can look like anything from, I'd just like to have one conversation with you, to run a few things past you, to, could we set up something where we connect once a month, to, I'd like to have a 10-minute call with you once a week. You guys decide. You get to choose. The mentors will set their own boundaries, and the mentees, your job is to ask for what you want and see what happens. In general, one of my biggest soapboxes to get on is if you don't ask, you don't receive, and we don't ask enough. Women don't ask enough of life, of one another in terms of asking for, giving, and receiving support. And if we do ask, we tend to deflect it. We tend to then kind of back away, minimize it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have brilliant women in this community with great hearts who are willing to support you, help you, and mentor you so that you can be more successful in 2019. If I don't see some people in there asking to be mentees soon, I'm going to hunt you all down individually and say, what the hell? So go get support, go get some love, go get some mentorship, start really putting some jet fuel under your growth and your trajectory for this year. Thank you, ladies, for being here. I wish you a bodacious and successful 2019. And if any of you have any questions for any of the mentors, then reach out to them individually or post them in this thread below. In the it'll be shared in Bodacity's Action Heroes. It'll be on YouTube, etc., etc. Come and ask them. They're happy to help, happy to answer. So let them help you. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Mwah! Bye for now from Bodacity.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye-bye.